Delving into the history of transport, the lorry is, relatively speaking, a newcomer, having only been on the scene for not much more than a century, despite the fact that since the Stone Age, man has constantly been devising schemes for moving his worldly goods from A to B with the least possible exertion. As the principles of trade and commerce developed, transportation became of vital importance, and in the mid-18th century, the canals and inland waterways of Great Britain opened up new areas for industrial development. It was a short-lived phenomenon, as steam locomotion was hot on the heels of the canal companies, and the railways quickly became established as the fastest and most efficient form of freight and passenger transportation. The roads of Britain were little more than dusty tracks and bridle paths, but by the late 19th century, the first mechanically propelled road vehicles started to appear. John Isaac Thornycroft built his first steam van in 1896, and he certainly played his part in pioneering a revolutionary form of transport. When you see huge modern-day juggernauts thundering along the nation's highways, it's hard to believe that those early mechanically propelled road vehicles needed an attendant with a red flag walking 60 yards in front of them to comply with the 19th century Highways Acts. However, there are those who would suggest that present-day legislation governing lorries is just as cumbersome, with red flags superseded by copious quantities of bureaucratic red tape. Now, while Thornycroft was busy with his steam van at his Chiswick boatyard, across the Atlantic, a black sticky goo from Pennsylvania, used as a cure for constipation, was refined into even more productive gasoline, and the first vans powered by the internal combustion engine started to appear. As the 20th century dawned, the self-propelled load carrier, or lorry to you and me, went from strength to strength. And as diesel came to prominence in the 1930s, road haulage never looked back. Exciting as the modern lorries may be, and you'll get a chance to see state-of-the-art specimens a little later, there's something wonderfully nostalgic about vintage and veteran lorries, and where better to take a closer look at these classic vehicles than at the type of transport rally that you can visit all over the country. Undoubtedly, a visit to any transport rally where commercial vehicles are featured will be your next logical step. And we're going to practice what we preach and head off to the Rotary Club of Abergavenny's Bailey Park Steam Veteran and Vintage Rally to join presenter Nigel James and find out what makes these classic commercial vehicles so appealing.
Amongst some of the oldest vehicles here at Abergavenny today is this Foden steam lorry. John, what a remarkable period piece it is.
Yes, it's the last in the line of the steam vehicles, really. This one was built in 1931. It was originally built for carrying stone, which is why it is unusual. It has solid tyres on it, whereas in the 30s they'd gone to pneumatics. But because of rough work in the quarries, it was built late on with solid tyres on it.
And its place of work, I see on the livery, was the Isle of Man.
That's where it's finished its days, yeah, that's where it is owned now. It spent most of its life in this country. In Derbyshire it started, and then in the preservation era it was mostly in the southeast of the country. It's had several different bodies on it. It started with a tipper, then it was a water tanker, and then it would have the furniture box put on it.
So it's had a remarkable working life, really.
It's had all sorts, yes, that's
Yeah.
quite right.
Yeah. It's looking in pristine condition here today. A lot of renovation work needed on it?
It came off the island to us in 1998 requiring boiler work. So when we'd done the boiler work, we then repainted it and put it into the livery of the new owner, Mr. Jones.
And you mentioned that the 30s itself, this was the sort of end of the era, really, wasn't it, for this kind of model?
Very much the end of the era for steam in this form, in the lorry form. In the 30s to me was the most remarkable advancement, because you had this in 1931, excuse me, by 1933 you had the heavy diesels coming out, and they really took over. And again in the 30s you had a change in the law on taxation, where they were, instead of just being a taxation for a lorry, they were taxed on their unladen weight. A steam vehicle being very heavy, therefore became very expensive to operate.
Right. I can see inside the cab there, John, there's a lot of wheels and dials and lots of mechanical things. Tell us a little bit more about that.
It looks far more complicated than it really is, believe it or not.
Uh-huh.
What you've got top centre is your regulator. The far side of the regulator, you will see the forward and reverse lever. Then you've got your steering wheel. Further down you've got your different cocks which are for your injector, that puts water into the boiler. And on the far side you've got a cock which feeds water by a pump into the boiler. So it's all self-contained.
And you converted it presumably into some sort of living accommodation on the back, I see.
Yes, you're not supposed to look in there. It's very convenient when you're at these type of events just to have somewhere to disappear for half an hour. Yeah,
Somewhere to put the kettle on and...
that's exactly right. Put the kettle on, and not only that, you're with it all the time. Then it's good accommodation.
Yeah.
And warm accommodation.
I would imagine so, actually. I would imagine so. You mentioned a few moments ago as well, John, about the taxation laws that changed in the 30s. Presumably it's still got to be taxed to this day, has it?
It's taxed as a historic vehicle, which these days, fortunately, is free of charge. But you do have to get a disc, but it is free of charge.
Right. And what about insuring such a vehicle as this?
That is quite expensive. Obviously, for insurance purposes, the boiler has to be inspected every 12 months.
Right.
And every 10 years, the boiler has to be stripped down for a full examination. So this is on its 5th year of its full examination, so we've got another 4 years, and then we've got to strip all the lagging off and strip down so the boiler can be inspected fully.
And with it being such a period piece as this, I presume that you travel around the country to various steam rallies?
We get all over the country, yes, we do. Yep. Try to do a few fresh ones each year.
Right. It probably brings quite a lot of attention to it as well, I would think.
It's surprising how many drivers there are still around, even though when you think in the 30s, there's still people that come to you, oh, I drove one of those. Or in particular, my father drove one of those. You get a lot of that.
Oh, yes, yeah. Probably bringing back lots of memories for many people.
Lots of memories, yes.
Yeah.
Quite right.
Let's learn now about the Leyland Octopus. Phil Potter, the owner, is with me. Phil, this must have quite a history as well, mustn't it?
I spent nearly 50 years on the road in transport, from a trailer boy up until I finished driving. The vehicle was advertised in a paper countrywide. We went to Derby to see it. Complete wreck. Only half a cab, no glass, no electric, nothing. I said to my one boy, I said, what do you think? He said, we think we can do it. So we bought it. We fetched it on a low loader,
Right.
put it in my son-in-law's farmyard, and for the next 3.5 years it was outside, and it was restored completely outside. Obviously with the winter it took a little bit longer than normal, but it was done. And we always said that if we couldn't drive it to a show, we would never take it, we wouldn't buy it.
Yeah.
So as the story goes on, we found out that the vehicle was new to a firm, wholesale fruit and potato merchants in Nottingham in 1953.
Okay.
Hence the registration numbers. That is the proper registration number.
Yeah.
And after that, a showman had used it for 21 years. And that is where we found the vehicle, in his yard near Derby.
It's quite an interesting name as well, Phil, isn't it? An octopus. Why would they have used such a name as that?
Well, the 8-wheeler was always known as the Octopus. The 6-wheeler was the Hippo, and the 4-wheeler was the Beaver.
Ah, so
Those in those days. Well, as progress progressed, they still used Leyland animals' names for the vehicles. There was the bison. I can't think of them all, you know, because the later models, I wasn't interested. It was only the old stuff. But I can assure you that most of their lorries were animals.
Right. Now, the cargo section at the back, Phil, covered in top hole in there. That wouldn't have been the original top hole in there, would it?
No, no. What had happened, you see, I was with Bulwark Tankers from Chippenham for nearly 26 years and got made redundant. So I went to work for the local firm of Taylors of Martley, the contractors with 250 vehicles, 300 odd trailers and 10 depots. When he knew the boss man there, same age as myself, 70, he said, I'll paint that lorry for you. And of course, jokingly, I said, Donald, are you feeling well? Because I said, you don't give anything for nothing. What do you want? He said, can I have my name on it?
Oh, right.
I said, well, you can't have Taylors of Martley because that is too modern.
Right.
You can't have the name before, which was Taylor and Son. Well, how old is it? 1953. Can I have my father's name on it? And that is the E. Taylors on there is Eddie Taylor, the originator now of the group called Taylors of Martley.
So quite an historical connection then.
Yes. The piece on the back, as you say, with the tarpaulin, after we ran it for 1 year with a flatbed.
Yeah.
But when the rains came, we had nowhere to go, only climb underneath to keep out of the rain.
Right.
So my boy said, well, I've got the chance of 2 old porter cabins. What do you think if we break them up, use the timber, we'll build the living quarters on the back?
Yeah.
That was a good idea.
Yeah.
Very basic, but it does the job. I've got 4 bunks in there, a wash basin, a cooker, and it's carpeted out with padded seats to sit on, and a dining bar.
So quite handy accommodation as
Yes, yes, and the reason why it's sheeted and roped, as you say, look more like a load,
well. Yes.
as of the days gone by.
Yeah.
I drove these in working vehicles, but with tankers on,
Yes.
with Bulwark Transport, where you had to sit, you had newspapers stuffed in the cab to stop the draft,
Really?
and your coat round your knees. And that's how you had to. There was no heaters or anything then.
No form of heat whatsoever.
And when I started at Bulwark, funny enough, I came back the one trip, and it had been raining. So I said, "Where's the wiper off this side?" He said, "Which side of the lorry do you sit then?" Because years ago they never had a wiper on this side.
Oh.
This one has been put on there, but because the showman had been using it,
I see.
I intend to take that off and block those holes up because they were never intended to be fitted.
Right. That brass fire extinguisher there, is that an original fitting as per the 50s?
No, that was put in there for, dare we say it, for show.
Right.
Because they were in that period. But of course we never had those, you know. But that was put there for. I've always wanted to find one of the old-fashioned time clocks.
Yes.
Because they had one of those in the back of the cab, and there was a disc in the back, and it was a wax disc. And if you got something hot and held it under because do a little bit of fiddling somewhere possibly,
Yes.
if you held something hot underneath,
Yes.
it used to melt the wax on the disc, so nothing showed.
Well, Phil, a fascinating story. Thanks for telling us about the Octopus Leyland, and good luck with the rest of the day.
Well, thank you, yes.
Thanks for your time.
It's a Scammell Crusader, heavy haulage tractor, articulated. Fitted with a Rolls-Royce diesel, 13-speed fuller gearbox. In service with the British Army from the late 70s, and some are still in service. Used with a crane through half, semi-low Arctic trailer to carry approximately 30 tons.
Like chieftain tanks and stuff like that?
No. Chieftain tank weighs over 50 tons. Carrying bulldozers and plant equipment, mainly issued to the Royal Engineers and some ordnance, now logistics corps units, for the movement of dead vehicles. The Crusader was available as a 4x2 tractor unit for road haulage, or the 6x4 heavy tractor for military and heavy civilian haulage. And these vehicles were not fitted with a Scammell constant mesh gearbox. This is fitted with a 13-speed Fuller RTO 95013 range change gearbox behind a Rolls-Royce diesel, the details of which I'm not sure of. It'll be a Rolls-Royce Eagle. Well, an enthusiast, right, Scammells have their own enthusiastic following. Each Scammell was individually built to the customer's requirements, rather like each Land Rover is virtually built to a built card. And because each and every Scammell is different from the Scammell that was built before it and after it, this is the individuality that causes the enthusiastic following. No two were ever alike. Of a given quantity built on a contract for the military, there are still variations between each individual vehicle. If you can follow my drift.
What sort of those variations be?
Oh, it might be just different brackets, or some particular items fastened on a different way, or some part was from a different supplier, or a light was different, or a dial was different, or might have two air gauges instead of one with two needles on it, or something minor like that. Some parts on the military Constructor, Explorer and Pioneer are interchangeable, but only some parts.
Yeah.
Because there were differences in body style, differences in, not so much in transmission, but in engine layout, fitment, etc., difference in drive axles, etc. The Constructor used two driven back axles. The Pioneer and the Explorer used a single axle with like a walking beam set up on the end, in that you had, on the end of the axle, you had then a drive case and you had two wheels which could oscillate for off-road use. Whereas the Constructor, which was a six-wheel drive, but it wasn't designed to do such serious off-road work, relied on its oscillating rear springs similar to a ordinary six-wheel lorry. The customer could specify the engine according to what he wanted to do. Now the Army, the British Army, specified petrol engines. For the 50s Scammells, most of them were petrol. They used a derivative of the Meadows diesel, which was rebuilt as a petrol engine. This particular one is fitted with a Rolls-Royce diesel. The model number I can't give you. But the first Scammells to enter military service, which was in 19, if I remember right, 41, during the war, all had Gardner diesels. Gardner 6LW, 6-cylinder diesels, with the Scammell 6-speed gated box, constant mesh gearbox behind. And this gearbox remained in service with the Scammells, and the military Scammells in particular, right up until the end of the Constructor production. You're testing me now. Alan, help me out. Constructors. 60s, yeah. Yeah, well into the mid-60s.
So how
Till Leyland came along and spoilt everything as they did.
So are they extremely reliable units, or
They're soldier-proof.
soldier-proof?
What more can I say?
Well, I think you said it. And so where does your interest in Scammells come from then?
I had 6 years in the Army on vehicle supply. I spent 2.5 years driving a Scammell Constructor and a trailer around Germany.
Right.
A low-loader trailer. And a Scammell Arctic, the forerunner of one of these.
Right. So it's
Also,
good memories of that?
oh, very good, yes.
Hi there, my name is Paul Scase. I'm the owner and builder of Double Eagle Express, which is an American Peterbilt truck. Double Eagle Express is a truck that gets its name from a company called Double Eagle Industries, who manufacture custom-built truck sleepers in America. Peterbilt is the same company that has the parent company PACCAR. PACCAR is the company that also owns DAF in Holland and Foden in England. What we have here is a conventional truck. A conventional truck means it's a bonneted truck. Majority of trucks now in America have got the bonnets. A long time ago it was always the cab overs, but now conventionals, because the laws have changed, have taken over. What we have here is an Eaton Fuller 13-speed transmission, something which is a very old, tried and tested transmission. The gauges and the dash tend to resemble an aircraft. The American stuff is always done a little bit different to the European. When you specify a truck in America, it doesn't come with a standard complete chassis with all the similar components to the next truck that they build. What you would ask them to do is literally tell them exactly what you want in the way of gauges. We've got some temperature gauges for the axles, temperature gauges for the gearbox, we've got air filter condition gauges, we've got a number of gauges that you wouldn't find in a European truck, simply because the American way of life says you've got to have a lot of gauges. The truck's fitted with a Caterpillar engine. It's a 3406E with a 435 horsepower output. It's 14 litres, it's a straight 6 engine. But I must admit, this is not standard, this is not how they come from the factory. In Europe there's quite a number of American trucks. I mean, this one doesn't work, it's registered as a motorhome. It'll never work for a number of reasons. And there's similar trucks in America that don't work. There are show trucks, there's gold-plated trucks, there's trucks with absolutely amazing features that you just couldn't understand unless you've seen them. But basically, there are a lot of American trucks on the roads, husband and wife teams with trucks as big as this, sleepers as well equipped as this, and they work every day. A lot of the American drivers cover as much as 250,000 miles a year. And they quite simply, they don't have a home. Yes. They have a post office box for the mail, but they live on the road. Well, I actually went to America and bought the truck in July of '94. I picked it up at the dealer, it was a new truck. It took me 15 years to save enough to actually go and look seriously at a truck. What we're standing in now is a double eagle sleeper. Double eagle will take, if you like, anybody's dreams and turn them into reality. They've built over 6,000 sleepers in their history. Each one is totally different. What we've got here basically is my ideas. Double eagle transferred them into reality. We've got a sleeper which is 10 foot long, almost 6'6" high. And what we have here is we've got a TV, a video, we've got cabinets, stereo system. Here we've got a refrigerator. We've got wardrobe space, we've got interior hanging space for coats, we've got slide out tables, we've got electric lights, we have a 240 volt English microwave, and down here we've got a generator control set. It's a water cooled generator, so that in winter it also helps to keep the truck engines warm, which allows it to start very easily. Well, the next plan, most of it's getting the way that I'd like it. It's took me a long time, it's took me 2 years now to get it this far. But what I'd like to build next is, behind the sleeper cab is a full width stainless steel a toolbox. What I've actually got, a friend in America, Harm Spearster, has sent me something which is pretty unique. It's actually a stained glass window of the Peterbilt emblem. So what I'm going to do is build that into the toolbox, put some lights behind it, so at night I've actually got a lit up stained glass window.
You've seen it in the magazines. You've read the press reports, it's been on the continent already, but we have got the United Kingdom debut of the fabulous Mercedes-Benz Actros. Tony Britton, Area Sales Manager from Mercedes-Benz UK. Tony, welcome to Truckfest.
Good morning.
You must have been thrilled to bits at Mercedes-Benz, of course, to be awarded Truck of the Year. It's a high accolade.
Obviously, it's a very prestigious award to have. We believe now with that and the new truck with the intelligence system.
But the intelligence systems, what does that mean?
Well, intelligent is a variant of two words, which is telecommunications and intelligent. What it basically means, we now have a CAN bus electronic system which evaluates all the information on all the electronics, and whatever system needs information can just pull it out of the CAN bus system, so we get optimum running and longevity of all the main components.
Ladies and gentlemen, Truck of the Year, round of applause. They are the winners, the Actros. Okay, joining me now is Jim Lindsay, Promotions Manager from Renault Trucks. Jim, an impressive lineup of Magnums again. They've been such a success for Renault. What really have they meant to the company?
They've meant an awful lot. It's really an image thing for Renault. It was Truck of the Year in 1991, and the cab is still yet to be beaten by the competitors. We've got 6'2" of headroom all round inside.
And there is a little bit of an alternative way of getting in these machines. It's not just climb up and open the door, is it? They have to go up the side.
It looks more difficult than it actually is. You just use the two handrails straight up across and you're in the cab.
Well, I've spoken to most drivers that actually drive Renaults and they swear by them. They love them. I haven't found one that disliked them. It's obviously a credit to the Renault company, and you must be very, very proud.
Okay. This is my father. His name is Denis Godin. I am Cécile Godin. We love Western. It's to make homage to Clint Eastwood. We have 5 trucks painted. They are painted but with one of Paris, 2 of Gypsy, one of Pulbo, and one of woman.
Hello, I'm Willem Kuiper, I'm from Holland, and I'm on Truckfest 1997 for the 14th time. Truckfest is for us one of the best shows in Europe, and we are very delighted that we can come over every time. The people from Truckfest are very good for us, and also the people from the Stena line who always bring us over for free. Well, this is my Mac, redecorated in all the years for 3 times already. First with my own name on it, with my own transport company. Then later we changed it in the way of Jacobs, a tobacco company with the word Jacobs Shack on it. And now just last month we redecorated now with the Jacobs Dutch Mac Fan Club magazine logo on it. It's an old Mac, this is what I have. It's a DM600. It's built in Allentown, Pennsylvania, and in 1968, so the truck is quite old already. And it's coming over to Holland. They use it first for normal truck trailer transport, and then about 15 years ago I buy it because I own the Mac Fan Club, and we start to do something about trucks. And when we buy the truck, we rebuild it, and then we're gonna do shows with it. We put a stainless steel bumper on it, a stainless steel front. The Bulldog is really a mascot of Mac. It's an English way, because after the First World War, Mac trucks are already used by the Americans in Europe, and then the English soldiers said, hey, the truck look like a Bulldog, and then Mac think it's a good idea to make it like a Bulldog, and from that moment off, the Bulldog is really the emblem of Mac. And if we walk to the back, then you can see inside we make a mobile home of it. We just redecorated. We put the ceiling with leather, and if you cannot see it all, but we made the word Mac in it. New carpet on the floor. All the couches are redecorated, so it's really like a Lux motorhome.
Now, I'm sure if you've been to Truckfest, you'll know this gentleman, and he deserves a warm Truckfest welcome. Our Truckfest favourite, our lucky charm, the superstar, Mr. Steve Murty! Steve, welcome back to Truckfest for the umpteenth year. 15 you've been to now.
Just about, yep.
Well, this year we are celebrating our 15th anniversary, of course, and the first one didn't happen here at Peterborough, as you remember. It happened at Newark back in 1983. You were at that one, weren't you?
Right, yes, I was there.
Now, we didn't expect to see the wheelie truck here this year, and it wasn't billed in the programme, but we got some television coverage with Big Breakfast live on Thursday, and you brought it down for the Big Breakfast. You had fun?
Certainly did, yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, would you please welcome from France, Patrick Borny! Bonjour, monsieur. Comment ça va?
Très bien, ça va.
Good, that's all the French I know.
Steve Murty getting the burners going. You'll feel the heat off those in a second. Out of those exhaust stacks. Are we ready? 3, 2, 1, and off we go. Patrick Borny already in the air. And then we're going to see, give him a cheer. Look at this. Spectacular stuff. Keep your legs well back, please.
too close. Oh, not too close. The trouble is he can't understand English. Look at that. Ladies and gentlemen, Patrick Borley. Wait till he gets out of the cab. There he is. Give him a big cheer.
La première année que je viens au Truckfest, c'est formidable, formidable. On reviendra l'année prochaine. Mon camion, il a été fait en 4 semaines par un peintre professionnel. Chrysalide, le peintre, c'est une femme qui fait la peinture.
Stan, we've got loads of things to give away, and funnily enough, everything we're giving away is orange. I think they got a job lot of orange paint. They've painted the trucks, they've painted the t-shirts, the balloons, everything. Orange lollies, orange tango, we're giving it all away. A little bit later on, we're going to give away about £2,000 worth of goodies as well.
Really? Well, you must admit they do look the business. Now, Phil, this is not the first Truckfest you've been to, is it? You've been to another one, a little bit further away.
Well, no, I've been to Shepton Mallet, of course, and last year for the first time went to Scotland, which was fantastic, and then we'll be up there again with Leyland after this year, so looking forward to that. Always a great day, fantastic crowd, and even the weather's turned nicer than it was. First thing this morning, I was a bit worried, but it's brilliant now. It's good to see all the smiling faces again.
They say the sun shines on the righteous, don't they?
It could be the glow from our orange shirts, of course. The sun may be behind the clouds, but there's an awful lot of orange around.
That's what it is. This is what we call Leyland Daft Sunshine.
Ladies and gentlemen, will you please welcome to Truckfest 97 from TV's Gladiators, the one and only Wolf! Wolf, welcome. Good to see you. Now, there's a lot of people in the crowd there. About 10 minutes ago, when we were just having a chat with them, were saying that Wolf is really a sissy and a big softie. In a moment, we're going to step inside this one here. I'll hop in the middle.
I thought I was green last year in the series. To watch this new series, which twice as bad. I'm going to make that John Anderson wish he never lived.
This is my Peterbilt 88. I fetched it in about 18 months ago from Baltimore. It's got a 400 Cummins in it. I use it for, got a T-lift what we put on the back, haulage or anything, or we use it for anything anybody wanted to use it for. Just had it painted from Panel Crafts in East Dereham. Someone from Yarmouth done the picture on it. Yeah. We was having trucking, just dreaming across the back, and we thought a trucking place would be better. Yeah.
been coming to the Truckfest ever since the very first one. First as a spectator, then as an exhibitor, probably over the last 10, 12 years. We started probably 25 years ago, like everybody who started with motorcycles. I raced motorcycles up to international level on the drag strips. And then we moved on to cars, and we were one of the first people to build a wheelie-in car in the UK, and that toured all of Europe. And then, to go one better, we moved on to trucks, and we built a wheelie truck and a land speed truck. This truck is, first thing is, we would claim it is a truck. It's a recognisable vehicle. There's thousands on the road delivering the bread and the groceries in every high street. It's a Ford Cargo. It's based on a 9-ton delivery chassis. It's original Ford axles, Ford brakes, Ford chassis rails, and Alcoa aluminium wheels. We've taken the engine out, put in an aircraft, a Lightning fighter aircraft engine. The engine produces 24,000 horsepower, and it propels this truck from 0 to 150 miles an hour in 13 seconds. And this truck actually holds the British National standing start 500 metre record for all vehicles, including cars. So it's the quickest British vehicle over 500 metres from a standing start. This vehicle is a £250,000 investment. The wheelie truck there, that probably cost £100,000 to build another vehicle like it. And really, in a way, I want people to tell me what to do next. How do we top these two vehicles? How do we top a vehicle that weighs 17 tonnes, that can stand up on its rear wheels and pirouette? How do we top a vehicle like this that can hit 150 miles an hour in 13 seconds? We could actually make this truck go a lot faster. We have this truck detuned so that it can perform at Truckfest in a safe environment. It's only putting out about 1/3 of its power potential, so we can open it up and literally go into orbit, but I don't want to be flying it at that time.
Waits till he takes his helmet off. There is Steve Mercy!
When you first see the immaculate and distinctive blue livery of Richard Reed Transport, you'll quickly realise that this is a highly professional fleet of vehicles. Performance is paramount, and each rig is equipped with up-to-the-minute technology, including satellite tracking for added security. However, as Richard Reed's customers would happily verify, this is no automated, faceless corporate operation. major contracts are fulfilled here on an epic scale. Gargantuan loads are shipped all over the world on a daily basis. But there's something even greater than just logistic efficiency on offer here. This is a family concern. Mr. Richard Reed has been firmly at the helm of this company for more than half a century, and his philosophy on business remains unwaveringly simple. The customer comes first, every time. Not only are customers' expectations met from a business point of view, they're also exceeded on a personal level. An enviable claim to fame for any 21st century company, haulage or otherwise. There have always been colourful characters in the world of lorries, and in our brief history we certainly touched upon one or two of the great inventors and entrepreneurs. Today, the most fascinating stories can be found at the haulage companies, but take our word for it, Eddie Stobart is not the only transport man with a tale to tell. When it came to hauling, the Reed family was well respected, particularly in the beautiful Forest of Dean, nestling on the border between England and Wales. Henry Reed had been in the business since 1913 and was fast becoming a force to be reckoned with. The fact that Henry and his wife Alice had 12 children certainly boded well for the future, and the dynastic implications were realised when 6 of their offspring went into road haulage. George Reed set up in Micheldean, and this fine classic lorry is one of his fleet. But Richard Reed, the hero of our story, decided to branch out on his own. With the support of his wife Amelia, in 1946 the newly married couple set out on a lifelong journey that has inevitably led to the long-hoped site that we're visiting today. By now you may well have spotted the ERF logo on this brand new Richard Reed rig, and the association between the two companies goes right back to 1959. Dennis, the son of E.R. Foden, ERF's founder, actually persuaded Mr. Richard Reed to take a long-term demonstrator, and from that point onwards every vehicle purchased for the Richard Reed fleet was an ERF. A very large part of the operation here at Longhope today is as an ERF dealership. Not only does Richard Reed Transport have complete trust in the vehicles for their own requirements, they also sell these quality lorries to other hauliers as well. In the transportation business, however, there's a great deal more involved in selling a lorry than you might imagine. Richard Reed offers an all-inclusive maintenance contract, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, which will support the vehicle throughout its working life. It's a big investment, and any operator can be sure that the team here will treat the customer's lorries with the same degree of care and attention to detail that they do their own. Mr. Richard Reed, from his earliest days in business, built up a reputation for reliability. Today they have the manpower and breakdown recovery vehicles necessary to deal with any situation. Now, there's no denying the magnificence of the modern vehicle, but today we have the opportunity to view a restored ERF tanker from the 1960s that has pride of place in the Richard Reed collection. Saved from a salvage yard, this now immaculate tank used to carry Bulmer's cider, but today it's a very popular visitor to the many transport rallies that can be found all around the country. It's impossible not to make comparisons between the two vehicles, and thanks to the modern miracle of digital cameras, we are able to take a ride in both cabs, and you can judge for yourself. On the subject of the Reed dynasty, meet Richard Reed's son, Richard. He's definitely carrying on the family tradition, and with 3 growing sons of his own, there's no doubt that this haulage company will remain a Reed family concern for at least the next century and beyond. It takes some skill for Richard to put the old tanker through its paces, double declutching and steering for all he's worth. The ride is pretty bumpy and very noisy. The temperature in the cab has definitely soared by the time he returns to base. It's at this point that you realise that technology has developed for a very good reason. And although there's a perfectly valid place for classic lorries at transport rallies and in historical settings, they no longer belong on the open road. And you can't help wondering what younger lorry drivers, used only to the comfort and ease of 21st century vehicles, would make of delivering a full load across the country in a 40-year-old truck. You only have to open the door of the new cab to see a very big difference indeed. To begin with, there are twin bunks with a surprising degree of comfort, as, particularly for European runs, legislation requires a 2-man crew. Everything is computer controlled, and with power steering, electronic and ABS braking systems and air suspension managed from the cab, not to mention the air conditioning, this vehicle is truly a delight to drive. The sophisticated nature of the satellite tracking means that back at base, if a lorry develops a problem, the service centre will already know about it. Also, the tachograph system is completely automated, and as well as being trouble-free, it's completely secure and impossible to tamper with. Needless to say, this kind of quality comes at a price, and a rig like this one is definitely at the top end of the market. The unit will cost in the region of £65,000, and depending on what type of trailer you require, it can set you back as much as another £25,000. Tyres, as you can appreciate, are a very big expenditure, and depending upon the work being undertaken, sometimes don't last as long as the company accountants might have liked. Car drivers may complain at the price of road tax, but if you have a fancy for a lorry, a tax disc can cost anything from £300 to £5,000, depending again on what the vehicle is being used for. Driver welfare is obviously a major factor for the modern haulage company, and at Richard Reed, their safety is never compromised. For a family firm, renowned for taking a special interest in providing employment for the local community, great effort is put into looking after the many people that work here. Looking around the site certainly proves that this also makes very good business sense, because any company, quite literally, stands or falls by the quality of its staff. With all the lorries safely back and our cameraman retrieved from the cab, this programme is sadly coming to an end. There's definitely a great deal of nostalgia involved with looking at the older lorries, and hopefully the classic vehicles that have been featured will have brought back some very happy memories. However, it's clear that coming bang up to date with a look at the modern lorry can also be equally exciting. In a very short space of time, relatively speaking, technology has transformed the haulage business completely. The needs of an ever-expanding population demand efficient logistics, and when you see a company like Richard Reed Transport in action, you realise that the future of this industry is in very safe hands. Preserving the heritage of the lorry at transport rallies, where dedicated restoration work can be showcased, is of vital significance. But even more importantly, These great days out are extremely enjoyable for the whole family. For anyone with an interest in lorries, it's the perfect opportunity to explain the fascination. And who knows, you might even inspire your nearest and dearest to share your enthusiasm.